Know thyself and thy mission. The self of each one and the great universal self are one. Since all that is exists from all eternity in its essence and principle, why make a distinction between the being and its origin, between ourselves and what we place at the beginning? The ancient traditions rightly said, our origin and ourselves, our God and ourselves are one. And this oneness should not be understood merely as a more or less close and intimate relationship of union, but as a true identity. Thus, when a man who seeks the divine attempts to reascend by degrees towards the inaccessible, he forgets that all his knowledge and all his intuition cannot take him one step forward in this infinite. Neither does he know that what he wants to attain, what he believes to be so far from him, is within him. For how could he know anything of the origin until he becomes conscious of this origin in himself? It is by understanding himself, by learning to know himself, that he can make the supreme discovery and cry out in wonder, like the patriarch in the Bible, "The house of God is here, and I knew it not." That is why we must express the sublime thought, creatrix of the material worlds, and make known to all the world that fills the heavens and the earth. I am in all things and all beings. When all shall know this, the promised day of great transfigurations will be at hand. When in each atom of matter, men shall recognize the indwelling thought of God, when in each living creature that shall perceive some hint of a gesture of God, when each man can see God in his brother, then dawn will break, dispelling the darkness, the falsehood, the ignorance, the error and suffering that weigh upon all nature. For all nature suffers and laments as she awaits the revelation of the sons of God. This indeed is the central thought epitomizing all others, the thought which should be ever present to our remembrance as the sun that illumines all life. That is why I remind you of it today. For if we follow our path bearing this thought in our hearts, like the rarest jewel, the most precious treasure, if we allow it to do its work of illumination and transfiguration within us, we shall know that it lives in the center of all beings and all things, and in it we shall feel the marvelous oneness of the universe. Then we shall understand the vanity and childishness of our meager satisfactions, our foolish quarrels, our petty passions, our blind indignations. We shall see the dissolution of our little faults, the crumbling of the last entrenchments of our limited personality and our obtuse egoism. We shall feel ourselves being swept along by this sublime current of true spirituality, which will deliver us from our narrow limits and bounds. The individual self and the universal self are one. In every world, in every being, in everything, in every atom is the divine presence, and man's mission is to manifest it. In order to do that, he must become conscious of this divine presence within him. Some individuals must undergo a real apprenticeship in order to achieve this. Their egoistic being is too all-absorbing, too rigid, too conservative, and their struggles against it are long and painful. Others, on the contrary, who are more impersonal, more plastic, more spiritualized, come easily into contact with the inexhaustible divine source of their being. But let us not forget that they too should devote themselves daily, constantly to a methodical effort of adaptation and transformation, so that nothing within them may ever again obscure the radiance of the pure light. But how greatly the standpoint changes once we attain this deeper consciousness! How understanding widens, how compassion grows.